The envelope tore open like a vein under pressure, spilling its sterile white card onto the scarred oak kitchen table where Christopher had eaten every childhood breakfast. His father's name stared back at him in black ink, probability of paternity, 0%. Rain hammered the Seattle window panes, mirroring the storm cracking through his chest, as he whispered to the empty room, "Dad, who the hell am I now?" Christopher Hale sat frozen in the dim glow of his apartment's single bulb, the kitschy DNA test results clutched in hands that trembled like leaves in a Pacific Northwest gale. At 28, he had built a life in this grey city of coffee shops and tech startups, a freelance graphic designer scraping by on gigs for indie bands and queer zines, his days a rhythm of sketches and solitude. But this flimsy piece of paper from some bargain bin ancestry site had just erased the only anchor he had ever known. His dad, Robert Hale, the man who had raised him alone after his mom bailed when Christopher was 3, the gruff mechanic with grease-stained fingers and a laugh like rolling thunder, was not his blood. Robert, who had taught him to fix a carburetor and tie a fly for salmon fishing in the Puget Sound, who had pretended not to notice the boys Christopher brought home in high school but still left extra blankets in the guest room. Robert, gone 2 years now from pancreatic cancer that ate him from the inside out, leaving Christopher with a toolbox full of memories and a mortgage on a Queen and Victorian he could barely afford. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the fire escape like impatient fingers. Christopher stood, pacing the creaky hardwood floors of his one-bedroom walk-up, the walls adorned with posters of Elliott Smith and faded Polaroids from Pride parades. He had ordered the test on a whim, late one night after too many whiskeys at the Baltic Room, scrolling through ads promising unlock your heritage while nursing a bruise from his latest failed hookup. What harm could it do? He had thought. Prove once and for all that he carried Robert's sturdy Irish genes, the ones that explained his broad shoulders and stubborn streak. Instead, it proved a lie. Or maybe a gift. Robert had never mentioned anything, not a whisper, about adoption, or affairs, or the messy entanglement of his mom's fleeting presence. Just stories of family barbecues in Tacoma and summers at Lake Chelan, painting a picture of roots deep as evergreens. He sank onto the worn leather couch, a thrift store find from Capitol Hill, and pulled out his phone. The first call was to his therapist, Lena, but it went to voicemail. "Hey, it's Chris. Something big happened. Call me back." His voice cracked, and he hung up before the sob could escape. Next, he scrolled to Elias, his on-again, off-again whatever they were, a barista/poet with ink-sleeved arms and a smile that could melt fog. They had met at a poetry slam in Fremont 6 months ago, Elias reciting verses about queer saints while Christopher sketched his profile in the margins of a napkin. Their nights were electric, fumbling in alleyways behind the Pike Place Market, whispers of forever amid the scent of salt air and salmon, but mornings brought distance, Elias pulling away with excuses about his art or his ex. Last week, after a fight over Christopher wanting more than stolen hours, Elias had stormed out of Christopher's apartment, leaving behind a half-empty coffee mug and a chill that lingered. Elias picked up on the third ring. "Babe? It's late. You okay?" Christopher swallowed hard, the words tumbling out in a rush. The test came back. "I'm not. Dad's not my dad. Biologically, I mean. It's nothing, right? Just some clerical error." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't. The probability was 0, cold and final as a locked door. There was a pause, the kind that stretched like taffy, Elias probably lighting one of his clove cigarettes on the other end. "Whoa. That's heavy. You want me to come over? I can bring that Ethiopian from down the street." The offer hung there, tempting, but Christopher saw it for what it was, a bandage on a gaping wound. "Now. Rainy night like this, you'll just complain about your boots. He'll figure it out. Chris, come on. Don't do that lone wolf thing. We're in this, yeah." "Were we?" Christopher wanted to ask, but instead he muttered a goodbye and ended the call. He tossed the phone aside and buried his face in his hands, the scar on his cheek itching like a reminder of the time Robert had pulled him from a bike wreck on Aurora Avenue. "You're tougher than you look, kid," Robert had said then, ruffling his hair. Tough. That's what he needed now. But toughness felt like a hollow word when your entire origin story unraveled in an instant. The next morning, the sky over Seattle hung low and bruised, the kind of grey that seeped into your bones. Christopher called in sick to his remote gig designing logos for a vegan food truck collective and spent the day digging through Robert's old boxes in the attic of the family home in Ballard, a modest craftsman he had inherited but couldn't bear to sell. Dust motes danced in the slanted light as he sifted through yellowed photo albums, letters tied with twine, and a showbox of receipts from the garage. Nothing jumped out, no birth certificate discrepancies, no cryptic notes from his mom, Vanessa, who had vanished to parts unknown after a string of bad choices and worse men. Just Robert's life, faded snapshots of him and Christopher at Mariners games, arms slung around each other in matching Mariners caps, a dog-eared copy of Walden with margins full of Robert's scrawled thoughts on solitude, and, tucked in the back, a single Polaroid of Robert and a man Christopher didn't recognize, both young and shirtless on a beach, arms linked, smiles wide as the horizon. Who was he? The man had Robert's build but softer eyes, dark hair like Christopher's own. The date on the back, summer 1995. Christopher was born in 1997. His heart stuttered. Could it be? He snapped a photo and fired it off to Lena, who finally called back. That's a lead, she said, her voice steady as always, a Seattle native with a no-nonsense lilt. But don't spiral yet. What do you feel right now? Lost, he admitted, tracing the man's face. Like I've been living someone else's life. Lena paused, then, or maybe you're just starting your own. That afternoon, he drove the winding roads to Golden Gardens Park, the sound crashing against the shore like an old friend offering solace. He walked the gravel path, hoodie zipped against the mist, replaying Robert's words from his deathbed. You're the best thing I ever built, Chris. Don't let the world tell you different. Built. Not born. Had Robert known? The thought twisted like a knife. As a gay man in a world that still sometimes whispered slurs in dive bars, Christopher had always leaned on that unshakable paternal love, the quiet pride Robert showed by hanging a rainbow flag in the garage window after Christopher's coming out at 17. Love who you love, son. Just make sure they treat you right. Now, that foundation cracked, what was left? Elias texted as the sun dipped low, painting the Olympics in fleeting gold, thinking of you. Slam tonight at Vermilion. Come? Christopher stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Part of him craved the dim lights, the snap of fingers after a raw poem, Elias' voice wrapping around him like smoke. But another part, the one raw from the revelation, whispered caution. He typed back, maybe tomorrow. Then, alone on a driftwood log, he let the waves drown out the ache, wondering if blood really mattered when love had forged him anyway. Days blurred into a haze of avoidance. Christopher threw himself into work, churning out designs for a queer film festival poster late nights at his drafting table, the hum of his laptop the only sound in the apartment. He avoided the attic box, the Polaroid burning a hole in his drawer, and dodged Elias' calls with texts about deadlines. But the city conspired against him, Seattle's relentless drizzle mirrored his mood, turning every corner into a reminder. At the Elliott Bay Book Company, browsing memoirs on identity, he overheard two men in the LGBTQ section laughing softly over a book on donor-conceived families. Turns out my dad's sperm was just the delivery service, one joked, and Christopher bolted, coffee spilling on his jeans. Lena pushed him in their session that week, her office overlooking Lake Union, houseboats bobbing like forgotten dreams. You're angry, she said, not a question. At Robert for not telling you. At yourself for needing to know. He nodded, picking at a thread on his sleeve. What if this changes everything? I'm gay in a family that was already unconventional. Dad never dated after Mom left. What if he was hiding more than just this? Or protecting you? Lena leaned forward, her glasses catching the light. Grief plus discovery is a perfect storm, Chris. Honor it. Start with what you have. What he had was the Polaroid. That night, he uploaded it to a reverse image search app, heart pounding as results trickled in. Nothing concrete, but a hit on a faded Facebook profile, Marcus Hale. No relation, the algorithm guessed, but the name echoed Robert's. Marcus Hale, photographer, based in Portland. The profile was sparse old posts from the 90s archived, beach shots, one caption, with my brother, Rob, chasing sunsets. Brother. Robert's brother? Christopher bookmarked it, pulse racing. Could an uncle be the key? Elias showed up unannounced the next evening, soaked from the downpour, holding a paper bag from Molly Moon's ice cream as a peace offering. You've been ghosting, he said, shaking water from his curls like a puppy. They sat on the fire escape, spoons clinking against pint containers, the city lights twinkling below like distant stars. Sorry, Christopher murmured, licking salted caramel. This DNA shit. It's messing with my head. Elias nodded, his knee brushing Christopher's in that deliberate way that always sparked heat. Tell me. And he did, words spilling like rain, the test, the photo, the void where certainty used to be. Elias listened, eyes soft in the sodium glow, then pulled him close. Hey. Blood's just biology. You're you because of the man who raised you. The one who loved you fierce. His lips brushed Christopher's temple, warm and sure, and for a moment, the world narrowed to that touch. They tumbled inside, clothes shedding like old skin, bodies familiar yet electric. Elias' hands mapped Christopher's scars, his whispers a litany of you're beautiful, you're enough. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets, Elias traced lazy patterns on Christopher's chest. What if we road trip to Portland? Chase this Marcus guy. Make it an adventure. Christopher laughed, the sound rusty. You, poet's notebook and all, in my beat-up Subaru? Sounds like a rom-com disaster. Or the start of something real. Elias' grin was sly, but his eyes held a vulnerability Christopher hadn't seen before. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered. Maybe this unraveling was a beginning. As Elias drifted to sleep, Christopher stared at the ceiling cracks, the Polaroid on his nightstand a shadow in the dark. Whatever Marcus held, secrets or solacete, was a thread worth pulling. And with Elias' breath steady beside him, he felt less alone in the pull. The drive south to Portland unfolded like a mixtape of indie folk and stolen glances, the I-5 corridor a ribbon of evergreens and espresso stands under a sky that finally cracked open with blue. Christopher gripped the wheel of his 2005 Subaru Outback, the one Robert had rebuilt from a junkyard wreck, its engine purring with the reliability of old love. Elias rode shotgun, feet on the dash, scribbling in his battered moleskin while humming along to Iron and Wine. Turn left at the next podunk town, Elias said, navigating via a dog-eared map app. Says here Marcus Hale has a studio in the Pearl District. Exposed brick, artisanal bullshit. Christopher chuckled, the sound easing the knot in his gut. It had been his idea to go, but now, with the city limits of Seattle fading in the rearview, doubt crept in like fog off the Columbia. What if Marcus slammed the door? What if the truth was uglier than the Mysteria family secret Robert had buried for good reason? Elias seemed to sense it, reaching over to squeeze his thigh. Breathe, Hale. Worst case, we eat voodoo donuts and bail. By midday, they crossed into Oregon, the air thicker with the scent of wet pine and distant rain. Portland greeted them with its trademark eccentricity, bike messengers weaving through traffic, food carts steaming with plantains and peerages, murals of mustached unicorns splashed across warehouses. They parked near the Willamette River, the water's chocolate-brown churn mirroring Christopher's churning thoughts. Elias insisted on a detour to Powell's City of Books, where he vanished into the Blue Room for poetry, emerging with a dog-eared copy of Whitman's Leaves of Grass. For the road, he said, pressing it into Christopher's hands. Song of myself, baby. Own your shit. Marcus Hale's studio was tucked in a converted loft on Northwest 13th, the buzzer labeled simply MH Photography. Christopher pressed it twice before a voice crackled through, yeah. Hi. I'm Christopher Hale. Robert's son. I think. We might be related. His voice wavered, and Elias shot him a thumbs up from the sidewalk. Silence, then the door buzzed open. The loft smelled of developer fluid and strong coffee, walls lined with black and white prints, weathered faces of loggers, intimate portraits of lovers tangled in sheets, landscapes of the Cascades shrouded in mist. Marcus himself was in his late 50s, lean and silver-haired, with Robert's jaw but eyes like polished obsidian, warm, but guarded. He wore a faded flannel over a thermal, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms etched with tattoos of compass roses and Latin script. "Christopher," Marcus said, extending a hand that swallowed his own. "Rob mentioned you once or twice. Said you had his fire." They settled at a scarred pine table cluttered with contact sheets, Elias hovering awkwardly until Marcus offered him a stool and a mug of Stumptown. Christopher slid the Polaroid across the table. "This is from '95. You and Dad on a beach. I did a DNA test. Has not my biological father." Marcus studied the photo, his expression unreadable, then set it down with deliberate care. That beach was Cannon Beach. Haystack Rock in the background. Rob and I went every summer as kids. He was the wild one always chasing waves. I was the one with the camera. He paused, sipping his coffee, steam curling like ghosts. "Vanessa. Your mom. She was a force. Met her at a dive in Astoria, '96. Bartender with dreams of LA. Rob fell hard. But things soured fast. She left when you were 3, remember?" Christopher nodded, throat tight. "Yeah. Vaguely. Christmas lights and a slammed door." Marcus leaned back, crossing his arms. "She came to me first, before she split. Scared. Said Rob wasn't the father. That it was complicated." His eyes met Christopher's, steady. "It was mine. You're my son." The words landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading through Christopher's chest. Elias coughed into his fist, breaking the tension. "Holy shit. That's congrats? Or condolences? Elias, by the way." Marcus chuckled, a low rumble. "Both, probably. Rob knew, Chris. He chose to raise you anyway. Said blood was for horseshoe crabs. Love was for family." Tears pricked Christopher's eyes, hot and unwelcome. "Why didn't he tell me?" "Protection, I guess." After Vanessa left, he went full dad mode. "Worked doubles at the yard, coached your little league. I was elsewhere. Portland scene in the '90s artsy, queer as hell. I came out young, lived loud. Rob? He buried it deep. Loved me like a brother, but never said the words. We lost touch after he got sick. Queer." The word hung there, electric. Christopher glanced at Elias, who raised an eyebrow. "Wait. You're gay as the day is long," Marcus confirmed, a wry smile tugging his lips. "Rob figured it out eventually. Never judged. Just asked if I was happy." The afternoon stretched, stories unfolding like negatives in a darkroom. Marcus showed them prints from his early days, pride marches in San Francisco, stolen kisses in back alleys, a self-portrait with eyes full of defiance. Christopher shared snippets of his own life, the coming out over Thanksgiving turkey, Robert's quiet nod, the hookups that fizzled, the designs he poured his heart into. Elias chimed in with poems, reciting one about fractured mirrors and mended hearts, his voice weaving magic in the loft's dusty light. As dusk fell, painting the Willamette in bruised purples, Marcus pulled out a bottle of Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley. To revelations, he toasted, glasses clinking. But beneath the warmth, Christopher felt a tremor. This man, his biological father, was a stranger, yet familiar in the curve of his smile, the cadence of his laugh. And Elias, watching with that poet's intensity, seemed to glow brighter, his hand finding Christopher's under the table. They crashed at Marcus's that night, on a futon in the studio's back room, the river murmuring lullabies. Elias curled against him, breath warm on his neck. "This is big," he whispered. "You okay?" Christopher traced the ink on Elias' arm, a constellation of stars. "Terrified. But yeah. For the first time in weeks, yeah. Morning brought crepes at screen door, syrup dripping like liquid gold, and a promise from Marcus, come back anytime. Doors open. As they hit the road north, windows down, wind whipping their hair, Christopher felt the weight lift, if only a fraction. Portland shrank in the mirror, a chapter closed and opened in one breath. But back in Seattle, reality waited Elias's lease ending in a month, Christopher's bank account dipping red, and the deeper question, what did this inheritance mean for a man still learning to claim his own heart? The high faded fast. Elias dove back into his slams, late nights at Hugo House where words flew like sparks, leaving Christopher to solitary dinners of ramen and regret. He texted Marcus sporadically photos of sketches, questions about Robert's youth, but the novelty wore thin against the grind. A client stiffed him on payment for a mural design, forcing him to pawn Robert's old fishing rod, the one etched with their initials. CH+RH forever. The pawnbroker, a grizzled vet named Hank, shook his head. Family heirlooms ain't cheap, kid. $100. Nights, Christopher lay awake, Elias snoring softly beside him, replaying Marcus's words. Gay as the day is long. Had Robert known about himself too? Buried desires in a small-town garage, choosing fatherhood over truth. The thought ached, a betrayal not of blood but of silence. Then, the fight. It started small, Elias forgetting their anniversary of that first napkin sketch, Christopher snapping over a misplaced mug. Words escalated in the kitchen, rain lashing the windows like accusations. You're always half out the door, Christopher yelled, voice raw. Poetry this, X that. What are we even doing? Elias flinched, eyes flashing. I'm here, aren't I? Chasing your family drama like some sidekick. But you shut down every time it gets real. Like him just a warm body till you sort your shit. The slap of truth stung worse than any hand. Christopher stormed out, pounding pavement through Capitol Hill till his lungs burned, ending up at the DNA kit's return address, a sterile lab in South Lake Union. He demanded a retest, credit card shaking in his hand. Make sure, he told the tech, a bored millennial with blue hair. No mistakes. Waiting for results, he crashed at Lena's couch, her cat Mr. Whiskers a judgmental shadow. This isn't just about the test, she said over herbal tea, steam fogging her lenses. It's about trust. With Robert, with Marcus, with Elias. I know. Christopher stared at his reflection in the dark window, the city's neon veins pulsing. But what if I'm not worth it? Lena squeezed his knee. That's the grief talking. You're building something new. Don't torch it. The retest confirmed it, 0%. Undeniable. Back in his apartment, Elias waited, bags half-packed by the door. I love you, Chris, he said, voice breaking. But I can't be your placeholder. The door clicked shut, echoing like a final edit. Alone again, Christopher curled on the floor, sobs racking him as thunder rolled in from the sound. Inheritance, he thought bitterly. All I got was loss. Weeks bled into autumn, Seattle's leaves turning the parks into firefalls of amber and crimson, but Christopher's world stayed monochrome. Elias's absence carved a hollow in the apartment, his poet's notebook left on the windowsill like a taunt, pages fluttering in the drafts. Christopher avoided the fire escape, the loft's back room where they had laughed over takeout Thai, and threw himself into work with a vengeance. Gigs poured in, queer-owned startups needing branding, a mural for the Capitol Hill block party, and he sketched till his fingers cramped, ink staining his skin like temporary tattoos of purpose. Marcus called once, voice crackling over the line from Portland. How's the city treating you, son? The word son landed soft, tentative, but Christopher heard the hope threaded through it. Same old grey, he replied, forcing lightness. Got a commission for a coffee shop logo. Waves and whales, very nautical. Marcus chuckled. Sounds like Rob. He doodled boats on napkins. Hey, I'm exhibiting at the Portland Art Museum next month. Portraits of queer elders. You should come. Bring your sketches. The invite warmed him, a ember in the chill, but Christopher demurred. Maybe. Things are complicated here. After hanging up, he pulled out the Polaroid again, studying Marcus's young face beside Robert's. Brothers, lovers, both? The ambiguity gnawed, mirroring his own tangled heart. Late one night, fueled by cheap bourbon from the corner QFC, he messaged Elias on Instagram, saw a poem about fractured light. Made me think of you. No response. The blue check haunted him, a digital ghost. Lena upped their sessions to twice weekly, her office now a sanctuary of chamomile and compassion. Betrayal's a shapeshifter, she said one rainy Tuesday, as ferry horns mourned in the distance. First Robert's silence, now Elias's exit. It's layering your wounds. Christopher nodded, twisting a tissue into shreds. Feels like him cursed. Gay son of a ghost family, chasing shadows. Not cursed, Lena countered gently. Human. And humans heal messy. What if you leaned into Marcus? Not for answers, but connection. The idea simmered. That weekend, he drove to Tacoma, Robert's old stomping grounds, the industrial sprawl of the port a gritty echo of memory. He wandered the Ruston Way waterfront, where Robert had taken him fishing as a kid, casting lines into the Theophos waterway amid the tang of diesel and salt. Gulls wheeled overhead, their cries sharp as regrets. In a bait shop tucked between warehouses, he found a flyer for a veteran support group. Roberts had been a weekend warrior in the National Guard, and something pulled him inside. The circle was small, a dozen men and women in folding chairs, coffee urn steaming in the corner. The facilitator, a wiry woman named Jo with a buzzcut and dog tags, nodded him in. New? Pull up a seat. We're just sharing. Christopher hesitated, then sat, the vinyl creaking under him. Stories flowed, lost comrades in Desert Storm, the quiet wars of PTSD at home. When his turn came, words spilled unbidden. My dad. He raised me alone. Taught me everything. But he lied. Or hid. I'm not his blood. And now the guy I love. He left because I couldn't let him in. Jo leaned forward. What did your dad teach you, exactly? To fix things, Christopher said, voice thick. Engines, bikes, broken rods. Said a man earns his keep by making whole what others broke. The group murmured assent, one vet, a burly guy named Theo with a prosthetic leg, clapping his shoulder. Sounds like he fixed you best. Blood's optional. Driving back as dusk fell, the Narrows bridge lights winking like beacons, Christopher felt a shift. Not peace, but possibility. He texted Marcus, tell me about Dad's silences. The ones he never broke. Responses came in bursts over the next days, Marcus sharing tales of their youth clandestine drives to Seattle's gay bars in the 80s, Robert's awkward wingman role, the AIDS crisis that stole their friends and hardened their shells. He loved deeply, Marcus wrote one evening, attaching a scan of a letter from '98. But fear's a hell of a chain. Chose you over it all. The letter was to Vanessa, pleading for her return, but laced with love for the boy they'd made. Christopher wept reading it, bourbon forgotten, the words blurring into rain-streaked windows. Elias resurfaced like a season finale twist, bumping into him at the Fremont Sunday market amid stalls of handmade soaps and vegan jerky. Elias looked windswept, curls tied back, a stack of chapbooks under his arm. Chris. Hey. The air crackled, vendors hawking honeymead fading to white noise. Poetry tour? Christopher asked, nodding at the books. Yeah. Olympia, then Eugene. Keeping busy. Elias shifted, eyes tracing Christopher's face like a familiar poem. You look good. Haunted, but good. They wandered to a bench by the canal, ducks quacking indifference. Apologies tumbled out, Elias for bolting, Christopher for walls built too high. I was scared, Christopher admitted, watching a leaf spiral on the water. Of losing more. But pushing you away? That was the real loss. Elias nodded, hand brushing his. I get it. My ex, he shattered me. Made me gun-shy. But you? You're the plot twist I didn't see coming. They kissed there, tentative then fierce, the market's bustle a blur. That night, back in the apartment, it was slower mapping scars with fingertips, whispers of him sorry weaving with I want you. Elias stayed, dawn finding them tangled, the city waking to their quiet laughter. But joy's fragile in storm season. Marcus's exhibit loomed, and Christopher committed, booking tickets south. En route, Elias read Whitman aloud, his voice a balm against the miles. Portland buzzed with pre-holiday energy, strings of lights draping the bridges like veins of gold. The museum was a cathedral of light and shadow, Marcus's portraits commanding a gallery wall, elders with lined faces, eyes holding decades of defiance and desire. One caught Christopher cold, a young Robert, shirt open, gaze direct, caption brother in arms, 1994. Marcus found them there, pride softening his edges. Knew you'd come. He hugged Christopher tight, then Elias, appraising. He suits you. The after-party was at a Hawthorne dive, craft beers and queer folk tunes, Marcus introducing them to his circle painters, activists, a drag queen named Ruby who crowned Christopher with a boa. Stories flowed, laughter loosening the knots. But late, as the bar emptied, Marcus pulled Christopher aside. There's more. About Rob. And me. They stepped into the alley, neon buzzing overhead. We were more than brothers, Marcus said, voice low. Lovers, too. Young, fumbling. Then Vanessa happened. I stepped back, let him have the family. But you. You're ours. Both. The revelation hit like a wave, crashing then receding. Not betrayal, but a fuller truth. Christopher thought of Robert's quiet strength, the garage flag, the lessons in love unspoken. He gave me everything, he whispered. Even you. Back inside, Elias waited, concern etching his brow. You okay? Christopher pulled him close, dancing to a slow Tom Waits cover. Better than okay. Whole. Yet wholeness cracked under pressure. Elias's tour extended Chicago, then NYC, promises of calls turning sporadic. Texts went unanswered, worry gnawing as Christopher's designs piled up, deadlines looming. One night, scrolling Instagram, he saw it, Elias tagged in a photo from a Brooklyn Open MIC, arm around a lithe redhead, caption live poetry, live love. Heart emoji. The stab was visceral, betrayal blooming hot. He called, voicemail swallowing his rage. Who is he? After everything? No reply. By morning, fury cooled to ice, Christopher packing Elias's things into a box by the door, the notebook on top like a scarlet letter. When Elias returned 2 weeks later, hollow-eyed from the road, the box waited. It wasn't, he started, but Christopher cut him off. Save it. I deserved better than borrowed time. Elias left without a fight, the doors click a dirge. Alone, Christopher shattered a mug against the wall, shards scattering like his resolve. Inheritance? This was curse, love's cruel inheritance, passed father to son. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, the sound's waters leaden under skies that wept without cease. Christopher moved through days on autopilot, his apartment a tomb of echoes, Elias's ghost in the empty hangers of the closet, the faint clove scent on a forgotten scarf. He sold the Subaru to cover bills, opting for the bus to freelance meetings in Belltown, the 10-line rattling like bones. Designs flowed from his fingertips, dark, moody pieces for a grunge revival band, evoking Nirvana's raw ache, but inside, he frayed, sleep elusive amid nightmares of faceless fathers and fleeing lovers. Marcus became lifeline, weekly calls evolving to video chats over the glow of screens. Show me your latest, Marcus would say, and Christopher would tilt his laptop to reveal sketches, abstract waves crashing into figures, eyes searching horizons. That's pain turned art, Marcus noted once, his Portland backdrop a cozy clutter of frames and ferns. Rob would have pinned it on the fridge. Those words anchored him, pulling him from the brink. He accepted a part-time gig at a design co-op in Pioneer Square, collaborating with queer artists on murals for the Pride Crosswalk. The work grounded him brushes sweeping color across concrete, transforming gray into rainbows of resilience. Theo from the Vets group joined one afternoon, his prosthetic clicking rhythmically as he wielded a roller. "Heard about your guy," Theo grunted, paint flecking his beard. "Sucks. But you keep swinging, hail. Like your old man taught." Nights, though, betrayal replayed on loop. Christopher stalked Elias's socials till the algorithm pitted him with suggested friends, then deleted the app, hurling his phone across the room. Lena called it progress. "Boundaries are self-love," she affirmed in session, her window framing a rare sunbreak gilding the lake. "Elias's choice reflects him, not your worth." "Worth," Christopher echoed bitterly, tracing the scar on his cheek. "Feels like all I inherit is doubt. Dad's silence, Marcus's absence, Elias's lies." Lena tilted her head. "Or strength. Robert raised you solo. Marcus survived the plague years. You? You're surviving this. What's the through line?" "Stubbornness," he admitted, a ghost of a smile. "And maybe hope." That hope flickered brighter when Marcus invited him for Christmas. No frills. Just ham and stories. Bring your heart. Christopher booked the Bolt bus, packing lighter sketchpad, Robert's old compass, the Polaroid laminated now like a talisman. Portland in December was a Dickens dream, lights strung through the pearl-like constellations, the food carts exhaling cinnamon and cider. Marcus met him at the station, enveloping him in a bear hug that smelled of darkroom chemicals and home. The loft had transformed, holiday lights twinkling amid the prints, a tree scavenged from the lot on Burnside strung with camera bulbs. Ruby the drag queen dropped by with spiked eggnog, regaling them with tales of 90s balls where Marcus had vogued in fishnets. "Your pop was a wallflower," Ruby teased, winking at Christopher. "But honey, when he danced. Fire." Over dinner, ham glazed with pineapple, mashed potatoes creamy as comfort. Marcus opened up further. "After Vanessa, Rob and I, we tried. Once. A weekend in the Olympics, away from eyes. But he couldn't shake the straight script. Chose stability. Me? I chose truth." His eyes misted, hand covering Christopher's. "You're the bridge, kid. Proof love defies labels." They exchanged gifts that night, Marcus a vintage Pentax camera, for capturing your world, Christopher a framed sketch of the Cannon Beach photo, waves rendered in soft charcoals. As snow dusted the windowsill, they watched It's a Wonderful Seattle, the local twist on Kappa, and Christopher felt roots stirring, tentative but real. Back in the new year, reinvigorated, he pitched a graphic novel to the co-op, a queer odyssey of fractured families, illustrated in his signature moody lines. Pages poured out narratives of donor dads and donor hearts, sons claiming legacies beyond DNA. Elias intruded once, a letter slipped under the door, "I fucked up. Travel to escape, not replace. If there's space." Christopher burned it in the sink, the flames licking words to ash. "Not yet. Maybe never." Spring teased Seattle with crocuses pushing through pavement cracks, and Christopher's world greened. The mural earned city buzz, a profile in the stranger hailing it as for testament to chosen kin. Marcus visited, camera in tow, documenting the process, strokes of turquoise and magenta blooming under Christopher's brush. "Proud," Marcus murmured, one evening as they shared pho in the International District, steam rising like prayers. "Of him. Of you. But storms brew in calms." A email from the DNA site pinged, a paternal match, 50% shared DNA. Not Marcus closer. Heart hammering, Christopher clicked the profile, Ethan Warwick, 52, software engineer in Chicago. Bio, divorced dad, 2 kids, loves Cubs games and craft brews. A photo showed a man with Christopher's hazel eyes, laughing at a backyard grill-out. Ethan. The sperm donor? Or more? The profile linked to a private ancestry tree, branches hinting at Midwestern roots, Irish, like Robert's facade. Christopher's hand shook as he drafted a message. Hi. I'm Christopher Hale. Your test match is mine. Got questions, if you're open. Sent. The weight clawed at him, nights pacing the fire escape, city lights mocking his solitude. Ethan replied within hours, holy cow. Call me? 312 area code. The voice on the line was warm, laced with windy city vowels. Kid, this is wild. I donated back in '96, med school debt. Never thought. But yeah, let's talk. Conversations unfolded over weeks. Ethan's Lithia straight-laced engineer, married young to Sarah, kids Emma and Jake now teens. Regret nothing, Ethan said one night, background noise of a Bulls game. But curious. You sound solid. What's your story? Christopher shared in layers, Robert's raising, Marcus's revelation, the gay heart threading it all. Ethan listened, no judgment, just Midwestern earnestness. Sounds like you hit the jackpot on dads. Biology's just trivia. The connection deepened, Ethan sending photos of Chicago winters, Christopher reciprocating with Seattle sunsets. But doubt whispered of another father? How many inheritances could one man hold? Elias reappeared at the mural's unveiling, a crowd milling under string lights in Cal Anderson Park. He approached tentative, hands in pockets. It's beautiful, he said, gesturing to the vivid scenes of intertwined hands across generations. You. Christopher's pulse thrummed, old fires stirring. Thanks. 'Twas over? Elias nodded, vulnerability cracking his facade. Yeah. Came back to write about home. About us, if. The if hung, heavy with history. They talked till the crowd thinned, words careful as first drafts. No promises, but a coffee date set for Numos the next week, poetry optional. As summer hummed in, Christopher's graphic novel found a publisher, a small queer press in Brooklyn. Pages bound, he held the proof copy, fingers tracing spines of story. Inheritance wasn't blood or betrayal, he realized it was this, the courage to rewrite. Yet fate twists. A call from Marcus, checkup came back bad. Prostate. Stage 3. The words hollowed the line, Christopher's knees buckling on the kitchen floor. Another loss looming? No. This time, he would fight alongside. Summer in Seattle unfurled like a reluctant bloom, heat waves shimmering off the asphalt while the sound lapped at beaches with uncharacteristic warmth. Christopher balanced on a knife's edge, the high of his graphic novel's contract, the tentative thaw with Elias over iced lattes at Victrola, and the shadow of Marcus's diagnosis creeping like ivy over sunlit days. He flew to Portland bi-weekly, the Bolt bus swapped for budget flights on Alaska Airlines, each landing a gut punch of hospital beige and antiseptic hope. Marcus faced it with wry defiance, chemo thinning his silver hair but not his spirit. Bald suits me, he joked during one visit, mirror reflecting a dome etched with laugh lines. Like a cue ball in a hipster bar. They spent afternoons in the loft, Christopher sketching while Marcus directed, more shadow there. Capture the fight in the eyes. The camera traded hands, Christopher snapped portraits of his father's strong hands cradling a mug, gaze defiant against the cascade backdrop. Elias wove back in slowly, their coffees evolving to walks along the Burke-Gilman Trail, bikes whirring past as they unpacked the wreckage. The redhead was a mistake, Elias confessed one golden evening, pedals clicking to a halt by Lake Washington. Rebound poetry. But you're the verse I can't shake. Christopher wanted to believe, the pull magnetic, but scars smarted. Trusts earned, not recited. Still, they kissed under the cartonwoods, tentative sparks igniting old flames, nights spent in the apartment with takeout from BA Bar and slow explorations that mended more than bodies. Ethan's calls anchored the chaos, his Chicago steadiness a counterpoint to West Coast whirl. Mets game next month, he suggested, voice crackling with static. Bring the boyfriend. My treat. Boyfriend. The word thrilled and terrified, Christopher testing it on Elias over faux steam. He wants to meet you. Cubs versus Mets. Hot dogs and homophobia optional. Elias grinned, chopsticks pausing. ID like that. Family expansion pack. But expansion strained seams. The graphic novel tour kicked off in July, readings in San Francisco and LA, Christopher's voice steady as he read passages of Sons reclaiming narratives. Fans lingered post-signing queer youth with stories mirroring his own, hugs exchanged like lifelines. Elias tagged along for the Bay Area leg, their hotel room in the Castro a cocoon of rainbow flags and rediscovery. "This is us," Elias murmured one night, city lights painting their skin. No more half measures. Back home, Marcus's treatments intensified, nausea bending him double but bending his will not at all. Christopher arrived one August dawn to find him on the loft floor, sweat-slicked and shaking. "Easy, Dad," he said, the title slipping natural as breath, helping him to the couch with a cool cloth. Ruby arrived with ginger tea and gossip, her heels clicking judgment on the linoleum. "That doctor's a quack. We're consulting the crystals next." Through it, stories surfaced, Marcus recounting Robert's hidden letters, tucked in a safe deposit box, confessions of love unspoken. "He wrote me after your birth. Said you were his North Star. Mine too, by proxy." Christopher read them aloud, voice breaking on lines of pine-scented paper. "I see your eyes in his. Keep him safe, brother. For us." The words fueled a deeper dive. Christopher drove to the bank in Portland, key from Marcus's drawer unlocking a box of relics, Robert's dog tags from guard days, a mixtape labeled Chris's First Steps, and a sealed envelope addressed to Christopher. Inside, Robert's scrawl, "If you're reading this, I'm gone. But you're not alone. Marcus has the rest. Love you more than engines, kid. Fix the world." Tears blurred the ink, but resolve sharpened. He hired a PI on a whim, freelance savings dwindling, to trace Vanessa. Leads pointed east to Spokane, a trailer park where she waitressed at a diner called Last Chance. The call came mid-September. "She's there. Rough shape. You want contact?" "Yes," Christopher breathed, then hesitated. "No. Not yet." Forgiveness simmered, but first, healing. Elias's reentry hit turbulence when his ex, Jordan, surfaced, a playwright from the tour circuit, all brooding intensity and boundary issues. A late-night call from Elias, voice slurred from a Vermilion after-party, he showed up. "Wants to talk." I told him no, but... Christopher's blood iced. "Go talk, then. But don't come back half-committed." The silence stretched days, Elias's texts apologies in verse. I wandered the stacks of regret, shelved my folly. Christopher deleted them, diving into mural expansions for the Seattle Art Fair, brushes his confessor. Theo dropped by with beers, their vet circle now a ritual. "Love's a battlefield, hail. You dodge or you charge." I charged, Christopher admitted, foam clinging to his mustache. "Got shelled." Theo clapped his back. "Then regroup. Your dad's watching. All of them." Autumn wind stripped the leaves, mirroring Christopher's stripping bare. He confronted Elias at a slam in Ballard, the room thick with spoken word thunder. Backstage, amid props and prompts, Elias looked wrecked. "Jordan's poison. I see that now. You're my harbor." "Not a harbor," Christopher said, voice steel. "A man. And men walk away from storms." He did, heart hammering, the applause crashing like waves behind. That night, alone, he called Ethan. "Need a Cubs game?" Solo. Chicago welcomed him with brisk wind off the lake, Ethan waiting at a hair in a Bears cap, bear hug enveloping. "Kid looks like hell," Ethan teased, but eyes held concern. They tailgated at Wrigley, hot dogs greasy as grief, the crack of bats a catharsis. Ethan's family joined halftime, Sarah warm with pie from Giordano's, Emma a sharp-witted teen quizzing Christopher's designs, Jake shy but sharing comic recs. "Your family," Sarah said over deep dish, cheese stretching like bridges. "Biology or not?" Ethan pulled him aside post-game, ivy walls glowing under floodlights. Heard about the boyfriend. Rough. But you're tougher. Like that engineer Blood, who? Christopher laughed, the sound foreign but welcome. Maybe. Or the mechanic. Or the artist. Back west, Marcus rallied for a scan, tumors shrinking like defeated foes. Remission's a tease, he cautioned over FaceTime, but smile belied it. Come celebrate. Pearl Street Festival. Christopher arrived to strings of lights and street performers, Elias's absence a dull ache but not devouring. Marcus linked arms, parading him through crowds to a booth of his prints. Sold 3 today. Your influence. As fireworks bloomed over the river, Christopher felt the pieces slot, Robert's toolshed grit, Marcus's lens-sharp truth, Ethan's steady orbit. Betrayal's sting faded to lesson love demanded risk, but solitude forged steel. Yet winter loomed, and with it, a letter from Spokane. Vanessa's scrawl, shaky, heard through the grapevine. Sorry doesn't cut it, but him trying. Coffee? The address enclosed, a diner on the edge of nowhere. Christopher stared at it till dawn, compass spinning on his table. Forward? Or fold? The drive to Spokane sliced through the Cascades like a scalpel, evergreens giving way to sagebrush plains under a sky vast and unforgiving. Christopher's Rentala nondescript Corolla from Enterprise hummed along IR-90, radio static flickering between country twang and NPR essays on forgiveness. The letter from Vanessa burned in his glove box, its edges curled from rereads, I was young, scared. Ruined things. But you're my blood too. 1 cup, no strings. No strings. As if life came without. Spokane sprawled industrial and earnest, the falls roaring through Riverfront Park like nature's apology for human mess. The Last Chance Diner squatted on the outskirts, neon sign flickering over cracked parking lot, semis idling like weary beasts. Christopher parked, hands damp on the wheel, rehearsing lines in the mirror, why now? What do you want? But doubt choked them. He was 28, not 8, yet the boy who remembered tinsel and slammed doors quaked inside. She waited at a corner booth, nursing black coffee, hair grey streaked and pulled into a practical ponytail, face lined like topography maps. Vanessa Hayler Warwick now, but the peer had the same hazel eyes, dimmed by years but unmistakable. Chris, she said, standing, voice a rasp from smokes and shouts. You came. He slid into the vinyl seat, the menu's grease-spotted laminator shield. 1 cup. The waitress, a sturdy woman named Barb with a name tag askew, poured without asking. Steam rose, bitter and grounding. Vanessa's hands trembled slightly, twisting a napkin. You look like Ethan. The eyes. He was. A fling. Med student, all ambition. I was crashing at a friend's in Portland, waitressing doubles. Your dad Ropey was kind. Steady. Thought he could fix me. Fix, Christopher echoed, the word barbed. Like a carburetor. She winced. Fair. I was broken then. Drugs, bad crowds. Left when it got too real. You, crying in that crib. Thought I'd spare you the wreckage. Spare me. Heat rose, coffee untouched. You vanished. Left him to raise a kid alone. And now? Remorse tore because a PI knocked. Vanessa met his gaze, unflinching. Partly. Cancer scare last year. Stage 1, beat it. Made me think of loose ends. But mostly. I followed your work. That mural in Seattle? Saw it online. Proud. The admission disarmed, but walls held. He shared snippets Robert's death, Marcus's chemo, Ethan's ball games careful, testing. Vanessa listened, tears tracking mascara rivers. I messed up. No excuse. But you turned out. Whole. Gay and proud, artist with a fire. That's on Rob. I knew. They parted after an hour, her hug awkward but earnest, a number exchanged with call if you want. Or don't. Driving back, the planes blurring, Christopher felt unburdened yet raw, the fall's roar echoing in his ears. Forgiveness? Not yet. But the door cracked. Portland called next, Marcus stronger, color returning like autumn to the trees. Christopher arrived to find the loft buzzing, Ruby hosting a benefit drag brunch, mimosas flowing, proceeds to the cancer fund. Our boy's home. Ruby trilled, planting air kisses. Marcus, in a jaunty beret, pulled him into the fray, where queer kin danced to RuPaul remixes, bodies a tapestry of glitter and grace. Elias was there, a surprise flown in by Marcus Poets for Morale, the note read. He looked sheepish amid the sequins, clutching a bouquet of dahlias. Heard about Spokane. Thought you might need backup. Christopher's heart stuttered, old rhythms sinking. You flew. For you. Elias's eyes held steady, no poetry, just truth. The brunch devolved into chaos, feather boas flung like confetti, Ruby lip-syncing Cher with operatic flair. Later, on the loft's fire escape, city lights winking below, Elias took Christopher's hand. I ended it with Jordan. For good. Therapy, boundaries, the works. If you're willing. Second acts. Christopher searched his face, the scar on his cheek itching under scrutiny. Betrayal's echo lingered, but so did the harbor's pull. Slow, he said finally. But yeah. Kisses followed, soft then searing, the night air electric. Marcus watched from the window, smile knowing, before chemo fatigue called him to bed. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting Seattle's streets in gold, and Christopher's life layered like Philo. The graphic novel launched to acclaim, tour stops in Boston and Portland, readings packed with fans tracing their own fractured maps. Ethan hosted a launch party in Chicago, deep dish and drafts, his kids gifting Christopher a custom Cubs jersey, hail across the back. You're stuck with us, Emma teased, her braces flashing. Vanessa sent a card post-launch, read the reviews. Knew you had it in you. Proud mom, late to the party. He framed it beside Robert's compass, a triptych of truths. But Marcus's remission faltered in November, a shadow on the scan-like ink blot. Metastatic, the oncologist said, words clinical as scalpels. Christopher flew down, Elias in tow, their hands linked on the red-eye. The loft felt smaller, air thick with unspoken farewells. Marcus rallied for stories, beach drives with Rob, first loves in hidden coves, the day Christopher's birth announcement arrived like manna. You gave me purpose, Marcus told him one dusk, Willamette glittering below. Beyond the lens. And you gave me roots, Christopher replied, throat tight. Both of you. Elias read poems bedside, verses of light-piercing dark, his presence a steady hum. As snow dusted the pearl, Marcus slipped into sleep, waking to dictate captions for unfinished prints. That one, he pointed, a portrait of intertwined hands. Call it inherited. Thanksgiving brought convergence. Christopher hosted in Seattle, the Queen and Victorian groaning under mismatched chairs. Ethan and Sarah flew in, kids in tow. Vanessa arrived by Greyhound, tentative in a wool coat, Theo and Joe from the vets, Ruby via train, heels packed. Elias manned the turkey, apron askew, while Christopher orchestrated sides cranberry relish from a Robert's recipe, Marcus's pumpkin pie cooling on the sill. Toast circled, Ethan's to biology's bonuses, Vanessa's halting apology met with nods, Ruby's to queer kin, the chosen chaos. Marcus joined via Zoom, face pale but beaming from Portland hospice. To the son who mended us all. Laughter flowed, tears too, the table a mosaic of scars and salvations. As plates cleared, Elias pulled Christopher to the porch, city fog rolling in. This, he said, gesturing to the warmth within. Us. It's greater. Christopher kissed him, snowflakes melting on lashes. Yeah. It is. Winter solstice neared, Marcus fading like a long exposure. Christopher drove south one last time, Elias driving the rental, their silence companionable. In the hospice room, monitors beeping soft, Marcus gripped his hand. Live loud, son. For Rob. For me. I will. Christopher promised, Elias's arm around his shoulders. Marcus passed at dawn, light slanting through blinds like a final frame. The funeral was a gallery, prints lining the chapel, eulogies from Ruby and kin. Christopher spoke last, voice steady, he gave me eyes to see. And a heart to love. Grief hollowed, but community filled, potlucks in the loft, Ethan's care packages of Chicago sweets, Vanessa's tentative emails blooming to calls. Elias proposed over New Year's at Golden Gardens, ring simple as a promise, silver band etched with waves. Marry me? In the mess and the mending. Yes, Christopher breathed, the sound whispering assent. Spring 2026 dawned, cherry blossoms veiling Seattle in pink haze. Christopher's sequel graphic novel took shape, Legacies Unbound, Love's Infinite Frames. With Elias planning vows in the Olympics, roots deepened not blood, but unbreakable bonds. Yet in quiet moments, he traced the Polaroid, father's smiles eternal. Inherited? Greater than genes, the grace to love, fiercely, fully. The wedding unfolded in the shadow of the Olympics, a meadow carpeted in lupine and wild iris, the kind of place Robert would have approved for its unpretentious grandeur. June sun filtered through cedars, casting dappled light on the gathering, 50 souls in linen and love, from Ethan's boisterous Chicago clan to Vanessa's quiet Spokane kin, Theo's vets in pressed khakis, Ruby reigning as officiant in a gown of taffeta thunder. Christopher stood at the altar, heart hammering like a carburetor at full throttle, Elias beside him in a suit the color of Puget fog, eyes shining with that poet's certainty. Vows exchanged, hands written, raw, Elias reciting lines of harbors and horizons, Christopher promising sketches of tomorrows, tools to mend what breaks. Rings slid on, simple bands engraved with greater, the word a talisman against tempests. Ruby's pronouncement boomed, kiss your damn selves. Cheers erupted, kites loosed by Emma and Jake soaring like freed dreams. The reception sprawled under a pavilion strung with Edison bulbs, tables groaning with farm-to-table bounty, Dungeness crab from the Sound, heirloom tomatoes from a Sequim farm, Marcus's pumpkin pie recipe adapted into tarts. Ethan cornered Christopher by the fire pit, beer in hand. Your old manrobe be grinning ear to ear. Hell, Marcus too. Vanessa approached next, her smile tentative, a wildflower corsage pinned to her dress. Beautiful, she said, voice thick. You didn't have to invite me. Family's not optional, Christopher replied, pulling her into a hug. Late or not. As dusk deepened, Elias stole him away to the creek's edge, water murmuring over stones. Husband, he tested, the word lash as summer air. Christopher laughed, pulling him close. Sounds right. Back home, the Queen and Victorian thrummed with newlywed hum, mornings tangled in sheets, evenings sketching by lamplight, Elias's chapbook launches bookend by Christopher's mural unveilings. The graphic novel sequel hit shelves in fall, Greater Than Blood, its cover a triptych of Eyes Hales, Warwick's, Vanessastering bold into the infinite. Marcus's legacy lived in a scholarship fund, queer artists mentored in his name, first recipient a shy Portland teen with a camera and fire. Robert's garage became community space, tools loaned to vets rebuilding lives, a rainbow flag still snapping in the breeze. Ethan visited quarterly, ball games traded for hikes in the Cascades, his stories of donor ethics weaving into family lore. Vanessa integrated slow, weekends in Spokane, her trailer brightened with Christopher's prints, confessions over diner pie. I stayed clean for you, she admitted one crisp October, leaves crunching underfoot by the falls. And me. Finally. Forgiveness isn't erasure, Christopher said, arm around her shoulders. It's space. Elias's exes faded to footnotes, therapy a weekly rite, their love tempered like steel in quiet forges. They adopted a rescue mutt, Luna, a wiry terrier with Robert's stubborn streak, her barks echoing through the halls. Years laid, a house in Fremont, garden bursting with dahlias, Elias's first collection dedicated to sea, My Greater Inheritance, Christopher's TEDx talk on chosen legacies, stage lights warm as embraces. Children came via surrogacy, a boy with Ethan's grin and a girl with Marcus's gaze, their nursery walls alive with sketches of beaches and bridges.